Thanks for staying with In Session In Depth. It's been 2 weeks since a North Texas prosecutor and his wife were found shot to death in their home. There are still few leads in the death of Kaufman County District Attorney Mike McClellan and his wife Cynthia. Their death was even harder felt because it came just 2 months after McClellan's assistant DA, Mark Hasse, was killed while walking into the courthouse. Unfortunately, the threat of violence is something many public officials have to deal with every day. One of those lawmakers who knows full well is Houston Democrat John Whitmire. As the chair of the Senate Criminal Justice Committee, Whitmire is front and center on many issues affecting prisons, law enforcement, and courts, but also helping make sure Texas laws protect fairly. I sat down with him this week to talk about several security issues facing the state, as well as a law that could protect gay teens involved in consenting relationships. Current law in Texas does not punish heterosexual teenage couples if one partner is above the age of consent and the other is younger. But the law as it stands on the books doesn't reach to homosexual couples. And that could mean a gay teen could face statutory rape charges that heterosexual teens wouldn't for the same act.
Opposite sex, boy and girl, are protected under the terms you described under current law. It just seems reasonable to me that it ought to apply to consensual sex that fit within the elements of the current law, but just so happen to be the same sex, that it would be consistent with fair play and reasonableness to allow them to have the same defense.
Had this come up before, any instances?
Yeah, we hear about it. I'll be honest with you, I can't name you a case, but there's certainly a fear factor, and I'm told by some activists that it has been enforced. And it simply, you know, gives them a defense, and it's doesn't guarantee anything. It just says if you fit the same conditions that a boy and girl would have, that same sex, not encourage anyone to put themselves in that situation, but if they choose, they're going to be covered by the law, whether they're same sex or opposite sex.
Groups that have spoken out against gay rights have criticized this measure. What do you say to them?
I say they need to be reasonable. They need to think about perhaps their own children, their own friends, fallen victim to the circumstances that are protected if they're opposite sex. Why wouldn't it be fair to protect same sex? So those folks, you know, I respect their right to have their opinion. I think they're wrong as they can be. And I think the good news is the country is evolving and trying to be much more reasonable and respectful of people that have different lifestyles than perhaps I do.
Keeping with the topic of young people, schools, you had also, you know, pitched the idea of the Texas School District Security Act, which would have allowed school districts to have some kind of tax money to actually help get their teachers or school employees trained for, you know, maybe if there was a shooter in the building or something, correct?
Sure. The problem the bill's running into is there is a strong feeling in this building, the Capitol, among legislators against any form of new revenue or taxes. Now, I think it's kind of nuts, quite frankly. It requires a local referendum. They can choose to use it as they wish. So I think there again, everybody talks about securing the schools. We have gone through 3 months. We got 2 months of the session last, and I haven't seen anything come through that's going to really enhance school safety. Nothing compared to what this bill would propose. So, you know, members have a right to vote their districts. I think they're wrong, and we'll continue, Senator Williams and I will continue to talk about this proposal, but I guess obviously we need more involvement by local communities to say they want that choice.
Earlier in the session, it seemed like it had stronger talk and support even on, you know, both Republicans and Democrats. What are you running into? What's the problem now?
Well, what happens is, probably in comparison to the beginning of the session, we were very still close to the tragedy in Connecticut. And every time there's an incident, an unfortunate incident, people get escalated in their concerns, like other issues. You know, in a drought, everybody wants to solve the water issue. School safety and security was an issue when we got here, much more heightened than it is now. We're not becoming complacent, it's just we got a lot on our plate. Some of the political activists back home and statewide against any new revenue have kind of gotten some energy that they may not have had January 1. So, you know, it's just the dynamics of the session.
With what happened recently in Kaufman County as far as the assistant DA and the DA and his wife, have you had talks about maybe the need for more security for elected officials?
Sure, I think everyone is concerned about elected officials. Certainly we're concerned about those who carry out the criminal justice policies. So yeah, there's concern, and I think people are taking some safeguards, whether it be prison officials or I know some legislators that are much more concerned about their safety than maybe in the past.
And you yourself have received death threats, correct?
Yeah, I've been threatened a couple of times in the past, and apparently recently I got a threat and then they did change their mind. I think they decided they were joking, but I take it serious, and I know law enforcement's taking it serious. So, you know, not much you can do. You got to go to work, live a normal life. You just kind of be cautious and aware of your surroundings, so they can't keep you from doing your work, so you just deal with it.
Can there be anything at the legislative level to, you know, help combat this problem or help make it a more secure environment for those people?
For them or for the elected officials? For the elected officials, nah, you know, the Capitol's a relatively safe place. You know, you got metal detectors, you got to go through security. But there's probably no perfect system. You know, you just live right and work hard and see what happens.
Senator Whitmire also discusses punishment for kids who skip school and a push for more treatment programs instead of prison. Our interview continues on KXAN.com. Just click on the legislature section. And coming up next on In Session In Depth, our roundtable weighs in on Texas justice system. Brandy Grissom from the Texas Tribune, Ana Yanez Correa from the Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, and Mike Ward from the Austin American Statesman.